Okay, what we're going to do is review how to do a couple of our constructions. The first one we're going to do is copy a segment. So I'm going to start by drawing a segment. I'm going to even label it segment AB. And what I'm going to try to do is draw another segment that's exactly congruent to this one. In other words, their lengths would be equal. So what I'm going to do is put down another point. So here is, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. Here's point C, and what I need to do is take my straight edge and draw a segment or a ray that is longer. Ooh, maybe I should draw it a little bit farther. Longer than the segment I'm trying to copy. That looks terrible. Anyway, so you draw one that's longer, and what you basically do is you use the compass to measure the length of your original segment. So to do that, we're going to bullseye either of our endpoints. And then we're very simply going to adjust this radius slider so that the pencil hole, oops, it just slipped, so that the pencil hole is right on top of the other endpoint, point B. So once I've got it there, it is definitely part of the construction to verify to everyone that you have matched your compass's distance right here to the distance from point to point. Now that we have the compass set to that distance, we're simply going to bullseye point C and make a little mark on our new segment that shows us where this point needs to be to make it exactly the same length as segment AB, and I guess I'll call it segment point D. So now I could say that the length of AB is equal to the length of CD, and if I wanted to use my ruler to verify that by actually measuring the segments, I could do that. So real quick, we had our initial segment. What we did is come down here and drew a point and a ray coming out of that point that was longer than the segment we're trying to copy. Then we picked up the compass, bullseyed one end point, adjusted the radius slider so that it was right on top of the other point, made a mark to show that I'd matched that distance, and then bullseyed this point and marked that off so it would show that it's exactly the same length as this one. Segment AB is congruent to segment CD. Alright, for this construction we are going to make a copy of this angle so that we get another angle that has exactly the same measure, or in other words it kind of sweeps out the same amount of the circle as this original angle does. Okay, and of course it really doesn't matter where we put the first side of our angle, so to get started I'm going to just draw a vertex point. I might as well name it, I'm just going to call it point Q, and then I'm going to draw in one side of the angle. And remember, it really doesn't matter how long our sides are. That's not the part of an angle that really matters to us. Like I said, what we have to do is figure out where to put in this other side so it exactly matches out the number of degrees of our original angle. Okay, so step one, to get this copy, we need to, what we'll do is bullseye our original angle's vertex point. So there I go, I'm going to pin it down. And it really kind of doesn't matter where we draw this arc, so about right in there looks about good. You just need to make sure it's going to hit both sides, and you're going to draw an arc that hits both sides of your original angle. Okay, then keeping exactly the same setting, we're going to come down here and bullseye point Q. And with that same setting, we're going to draw the same arc that's hitting the one side of the angle that we do have. So, and remember my rule. It is always smart to go farther than you think you need. There's no such thing as going too far, but if you don't go far enough, what we're going to get is a little intersection point out here that tells us where to draw in that other side. Well, if this doesn't go far enough, they won't intersect and we won't know where that point's supposed to be. Alright, what we're going to do next is take this distance right here and match our compass to that distance. Once we know how far that is, we'll just transfer that distance down right there, and then we'll know exactly where that other side of our angle is supposed to go. Right now we only have one side, we're looking for where the other side has to be. So to get that distance, I am going to bullseye right there where the arc hit my original angle. And I'm going to move this in so that the pencil hole is exactly on top of that spot where our arc is hitting the angle again. So right there looks good, and it is part of the construction to have those little marks on there. If you're missing those marks like on a test, you haven't done the construction correctly. Okay, these marks tell us that you did this correctly so that it made a copy. Okay, now that I have the compass set basically to this distance right here, I'm going to come down here and make a mark that will make this distance match that distance. So here I go. I'm going to bullseye this intersection spot, and holding it down, I'm going to use the same pencil hole and draw in that same arc right there, and there we go. That X marks the spot is the place where this other side should go in. So I'll put a little point there just to help myself out, and I'm going to draw the other side of this angle exactly through that point from the vertex. Okay, and these two angles, because of the construction, and we'll learn more about why it makes congruent angles, but we know that now that angle P is congruent to angle Q. Okay, and if we put a loop on there, we could put a matching loop on there. Alright, you can watch these videos as many times as you need to try and help yourself out with the sequence of arcs and things like that. And if you bought a compass, then you can try some of these at your house.